What's up, guys? How we doing? A little Saturday night hangout because, obviously didn't happen last night. Congratulations to you guys who took the under. We beat it by a couple minutes, right? So the 4.5, we were almost there, but barely beat it. So hit the like button if you're not already. Appreciate that. Hit the sub button. We were almost to 75,000 subscribers. So, the helmet right there, Isaiah Rodgers, going to give that away. Also, I had several questions from you guys about the Underdog Fantasy League. So got that one set up. Link is in the comments. If you want to check it out, feel free. Sign up. $25 best ball entry. But I figured to hop on here because obviously practice is today and just go through kind of the main topics and updates there. So, Chris, I appreciate said good show. Josh B, that was within seconds, but it still counts. I appreciate it, though. Yes, all the support. I know that we're just barely there. But yeah, let's jump in. Lots to talk about from practice. So starting out, we've got the Eagles making an official roster move, signing Gottlieb Ayeds, and I'm sure that I'm mispronouncing it, which is just about every single time. Placed Tyler Hall on the reserve injured list, or the reserve injured IR, and then waived injured defensive back / safety corner, whatever, Mekhi Garner, which is kind of surprising because we didn't hear too much about Mekhi Garner in the preseason game. In fact, I don't think we heard about an injury at all. But making the move there, perhaps Mekhi Garner is a player that could come back. I feel like he might get, you've got plenty of time before the cut down. That is a little bit of a shock. But nonetheless, Mekhi Garner is waived. And Gottlieb Ayeds, which, you think Max Sharping did not block worth anything in the preseason game. And then you also look at Matt Hennessy, which I don't know. I don't know what the situation is there. But you talk about depth on that side. So anyway, first roster move. That is Gottlieb Ayeds. Not super surprising because actually the Eagles worked out Gottlieb yesterday. So the writing was kind of on the wall. And then when you see him there at practice, it was a given. But yeah, the first official move is that signing. Now, granted, the next natural question becomes, okay, how does that change or impact the roster? There is an open roster spot. So do the Eagles go out and sign someone? Is it a receiver? Is it a safety? That, remains to be seen. So we'll see which direction Howie Roseman might go there. Probably in the short term, you see just another camp body, but we'll get into more of the speculation, thoughts, everything like that as far as wide receiver 3, because I do believe that there's a move that's going to be taking place on that side. But with that being said, there's questions at safety, and we actually got a good bit of news that CJ Gardner Johnson is back. So everyone, obviously loves to see that. But got CJ Gardner Johnson back at practice. Several different clips from CJ. And kind of a slip and slide action, I guess, today. A little bit of rain. But the players having fun. CJ bringing the intensity at practice. You wondered about the shoulder, but it appears to be fine. Blaze, you put your house on the over and I sold you. Apologies. Maybe you should refrain. That's why underdog is better. You can't go to that extreme. But yes, C.J. Gardner Johnson, having him back changes the dynamic of the defense, especially just with the intensity. But like we say, you need that intensity to begin with. But the fact that he is there, obviously a positive. And then the biggest news so far, well, the best news maybe, because we knew that C.J. Gardner Johnson was going to come back, right? Like that's not a huge surprise. The shoulder, but seeing Cooper DeJean out there, back at practice, and not only just back at practice, but he's actually getting in significant work. So we've got Cooper DeJean, and here is well, I guess there's a couple looks at Coop. Let me throw the first one up here. So Cooper DeJean back in, the subtle plug. We don't mind the subtle plugs. Eagles Nest. The great news is that Cooper DeJean is back. And not just back, but actually participating quite a bit in drills. So Cooper DeJean getting in punt work. You see him there. Obviously, some of the others as well. He's getting in some action within warm-ups. Of course, we would love to see a little extra from camp, but they don't let us, media can't actually record anything besides just the warm-ups and the drills and things like that. But based on the reports, and I'll get into more of the breakdown, we'll kind of go play by play, or at least what was recorded. But based on reports, Cooper DeJean getting in action not only at slot, but also at outside corner and returning punts. So, the fact that supposedly he was limited is not nearly as limited as it seems, because he's getting in significant work and also moving Q to the outside. So that is also a benefit. Again, you look at the practice report, the full injury list, there's several guys. So I'm still saying there's great news as far as CJ Gardner Johnson back, Cooper DeJean back, Parris Campbell back. Of course, it's within limited. Oren Burks with the knee, finally getting in some action, has been out for a long time. But the official report, as you see, Gabe Hall out with the hamstring. Unfortunately, my guy, I had heard or seen like a little bit of a glimpse of that. I was hoping it was not true. But out with the hamstring, not the best for his chances there. Thomas Booker has been making plays. Good for him. Seems like he's kind of got the leg up of as far as against Gabe Hall or even Marlon Tuipulotu for making this roster. So Gabe Hall with a hamstring. Matt Hennessy, as we mentioned, with the back. Potentially why you make the signing of Gottlieb Ayeds. E.J. Jenkins with the knee injury. We saw him go down, and he said he was going to be okay. You don't like to see that. You don't love to see that. But hopefully he's fine. Joseph Ngata, who had the incredible performance in the last preseason game, 5 catches, 88 yards, the number one clear target for Tanner McKee, out with an ankle injury. Yes, Dylan, not Gabe Hall. That's not what we wanted. We didn't want any of them, but especially my guy. Alberto still with the abdomen, Caden Stearns, the knee, John Ross, the concussion, Tyler Steen, ankle, and Johnny Wilson, the concussion as well. So we've got multiple with the concussion. Still, like you say, the limited guys, even though they're limited, they are back and getting in some work, and it almost looked like Cooper DeJean was not even limited, which we'll get into more of that. I'll share here in a second. But very positive there, so, worth hitting the like button if you haven't already. But then also, as we transition there, got to bring up Johnny Wilson quickly because I touched on it in the last video, but in case people did not see it, this is Johnny Wilson getting hit, and this is a video that the Patriots YouTube team, social media team posted. And at first, whenever I saw that hit on their little hype video, I was like, oh man, that's a big hit, whatever, right? So then in the preseason game, Johnny Wilson goes down, and we see, or the preseason game, he's not there, and Ross Tucker reports that he's got a concussion. I'm like, my gosh, we didn't hear anything about that. This is crazy. So going back, editing the last video, I'm like, all right, I'm going to show something, trying to find some sort of clips, and I slowed it down frame by frame. And at first, I thought the same thing. I was like, yeah, that's Dallas Goedert, probably. Like, I just very quickly saw an 8. Okay, he's lined up on the line of scrimmage. Probably him. Could be C.J. Uzomah. Didn't think anything of it. If you slow it down, if you stop it frame by frame, that is Johnny Wilson. And that's Jabrill Peppers laying a hit on in there. So that appears to be the hit. I'm totally speculating, but I mean, it's a violent hit. And if he got a concussion, it wouldn't surprise me. If that was the hit, it ends up being a kind of shoulder and helmet of Jabrill Peppers to the helmet of Johnny Wilson. Hopefully he's okay. Just kind of a random nugget, I suppose, that I found out there. At least wanted to share that because we do need Johnny Wilson. We do need help within the receiver spot. And, you never like to see injuries for anybody, obviously, but especially for someone of the caliber of Johnny Wilson, who's getting those reps, getting that confidence. You don't want something to derail him. I don't think it will. Let me be clear. But still, I think that's, where we're at. All right. So next, as far as the practice itself, Fitness saying that was Johnny Wilson's welcome to the NFL hit. I've heard a couple of those already. Unfortunately, maybe so. He got a violent hit. I don't know if that's like finable or anything, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my gosh, it's my team. Don't, have these violent hits and everything. But see, there's Sparkle. I knew it wouldn't take very long. Sparkle says dirty ass hit. Like there's obviously both sides of that one. It's a violent hit, and I don't know it's impossible to see where the play was, the ball is. It doesn't appear that Jabrill Peppers is going after any sort of playmaker. And again, that's asserting maybe some bias, but like, I don't know, for a joint practice, we'll never know. I'd just be curious to see some of the rest of the team's reaction, because Mailata's right there. and you would assume that maybe that sparked some things. There was a little bit of a scuffle, according to the joint practice, but yeah, that hit was malicious. It did look very violent, so I don't want to necessarily put anything on anybody, but it I would lean towards, it was more on the dirty side. But anyway, I mean, that's where this thing is at. So, all right, within practice, though, let's get back to practice. Just in case you're joining, the great news, the positivity, what's going on, get you updated on the latest within practice. Don't have time, or didn't have time, for a full show. So like I say, figured hop on here, give you the quick recap, what's going on. The Eagles do practice several different days, which I'll also touch on the schedule here in a second. But within practice, within practice itself, what's the news? Carlos Hernandez, it's Cooper DeJean is back. So I'll share that again. Cooper DeJean is back. Our guy in multiple positions. However, given the fact that your injury report had several limited guys and players that are out, the question would be, okay, where are they going to play at? What positions? So starting out, if you're curious about Nakobe Dean and how he's playing, would that get Nakobe Dean first-team reps? It did not, at least initially. He did get some and rotate in there, but as Brooks Cabina and others shared, Devin White and Zack Baun started out at linebacker. Fitness warrior. We are talking about practice. That's all there is to talk about. Well, there's a little bit of hypotheticals, but Devin White, Zack Baun first at linebacker during team drills. Sirianni did praise Nakobe for his play against the Patriots in the presser. That was earlier. And then it was interesting because, we look at many times how the conversation of the blitz, right? So we look at how Jalen's handled the blitz, how the Eagles as a whole, I suppose, have handled the blitz. But, what are they going to do to stop that? How are they going to prepare for it? And they're working as hard as they can to prepare in as many ways as possible. Let's just say that. So within the reports here, the Vic Fangio's defense had quite a bit of blitzes to start out. According to ESP, EJ Jenkins, I think Jimmy Kempski had also reported that as well. But Eagles defense blitzed Hurts and the offense on what seemed like every play to start practice. So, we've understood the possibility of defensive coordinators are going to see that. They're probably going to test Hurts, prepare for it. Unfortunately, not just for Jalen Hurts, but for the offense as a whole, the general consensus from the beat writers was that the defense probably won. It wasn't the most successful offensive outing. First team did better than some of the others. And then, not as great from Kenny Pickett, which I don't know if that's a surprise to you. Probably not if you watched any of the first two preseason games. In fact, Kenny Pickett has less than 50%. Shout out to, who was this? I'm drawing a blank on the tweet. I saw it earlier. Shane Half. There you go. My guy Shane. Shout out to Shane. Shane said over the last 2 years, Kenny Pickett has less than 50% completion when throwing more than 10 plus air yards, basically. So if you throw a long pass, Kenny Pickett, less than 50% completion, 9 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Just doesn't really seem to have the ability to do that. And it continued in practice as the reports of Tanner McKee getting rid of the ball a lot faster than Kenny Pickett, who Pickett got sacked on a blitz early on where he held it too long. Maybe not surprising, considering the fact that the preseason game and all the other times have shown that to us. Jimmy Kempski reporting that, the second Eagles quarterback, though, up nonetheless is Kenny Pickett, who the Eagles are very high on. Remember that we had all this speculation, and Tanner McKee was, in fact, trending on Twitter whenever Dave Spadaro came on and said, no, the Eagles are very, very high on Kenny Pickett, and he is still QB2, one above all, right on time. Says Pickett is a bum. I've heard all the other takes. I do understand, because I've also gotten these comments, and I understand it. Howie traded a lot for Kenny Pickett, right? So he's not, if you immediately move him to QB3, you've totally lost all of your investment value, or basically most of it. If any team has an injury and you ever think about trading, you probably lose all the value right there. it goes both ways. It's to a certain point that is true, but you're also looking to have your best quarterbacks in there and your best opportunity. So I think that you wait and see how close that one gets. But within the quarterback play, not the best day. Anyway, Britton Covey started out as wide receiver 3. I think I mentioned that. Parris Campbell later came in. Questions of who that will be. Johnny Wilson, with him obviously being out, then you're looking at the potentials on that. I think that Britton Covey will have a role. I don't think that you live and die by the fact that saying Britton Covey is going to be your guarantee. But Andrew, yes, there you go. See how he's not going to diminish Kenny's value. Totally understand that. Makes sense. Yes, Hold My Drink says anyone who has eyes can see that McKee looks way more sharp, way sharper than Pickett. I get you though. Yeah. And that's where it's at, really. So, anyway, that is within the QB battle. And then continuing on with this, we've got some more info here. So we had then one-on-one drills with, there you go, one-on-one drills. Mekhi Becton, Jalen Carter. 3 straight times. One-on-one, Jalen Carter against Mekhi Becton. And Becton held him off, according to Martin Frank. Obviously, then inserting there, Becton had the right guard job won even before the Steen injury. That's already a given, yes. It's a very positive sign because also remember that Becton said, 3 practices ago, afterwards getting interviewed, he said, yeah, basically alluding to the fact that Jalen Carter got the best of him, but he's slowly but surely kind of getting him back in a way. It's a positive. Yes, he'd already won the starting job, but it's better when we consider, what used to be, and I'll flash this one up here too. I think I can find the clip, but those of you that were at the open practice do remember this from the rep and one-on-one drill. Let's see if we can find it. Might be gone. Here you go. There's the clip. So from the Eagles open practice, again, I know it's 1 rep. You can win 1 rep, you can lose 1 rep. It's not the biggest deal, but the fact that at Eagles open practice, Mekhi Becton losing to not only Jalen Carter, but then also losing to Moro Ojomo on that one. And now, here we are, we fast forward, and you've got reports of Mekhi Becton 3 straight times beating Jalen Carter, which does not happen very often. Again, I will still emphasize with a grain of salt, and it is just a rep within practice and one-on-ones, and there's a whole lot more that we need to see for regular game time. I think everyone understands that, but it's still a positive, so you take that for what you will. That is your starter. The fact that he's with Jeff Stoutland, didn't really have any concerns to begin with, but, that's just the extra emphasis and why this thing is, hopefully going to work out. I'm very excited about the potential. Anyway, there's also, I just pulled this one as well from Khalil Mack. You guys probably saw this, I would assume. It's a little bit old, but from the interview with Pardon My Take, we've mentioned Vic Fangio's defense, the style that he has, what he plays with. Khalil Mack basically just saying that what we kind of already assumed or knew, but Vic Fangio was a mastermind with him understanding the players he had, making sure before the week we were prepared for every guy, what we would do. We expected to dominate every team we played. You got to love to hear that. That's it speaks to, again, getting the players ready, right? And we didn't have as much of a game plan, but also from the very beginning of training camp, remember whenever Fangio said, we're going to basically throw the kitchen sink at them. All the players, you get as much opportunity as possible to make plays, to do things, and then it'll be recall, right? Because if you have so much absorbed or as much as possible, and then all of a sudden you get into the season, you are able to recall different formations, different schemes, different alignments, different positions that you're playing in, and then you take it and run with it. So it's definitely a positive. And if we're talking about, a guy in particular, Cooper DeJean, right? Because again, the biggest, best news I think of all from certainly today is Cooper DeJean back at practice, getting in still officially listed as limited, but according to multiple reports, Cooper DeJean was getting his first snaps in the nickel in second team. So just to make that clear, I saw some reports initially of, he's getting first team to start out. Started out on the second team, getting reps in the nickel, but then moved to the outside. So Brooks Cabina, Jamie Kimsky, I think Martin Frank also were ones that had that, but Brooks Cabina saying some first-team snaps for two top rookies, Quinyon Mitchell, outside corner, Cooper DeJean at nickel. We've mentioned this before, but you don't draft a first-round pick to have Quinyon Mitchell in the slot. Now, as at the current moment, you're not going to go out there and have a Quinyon Mitchell probably on the outside, because we look at this roster and you have Slay, and Isaiah Rodgers seems set in that position because he did start again with Slay. Feels like that one's a given, but you're still trying to get all these different reps. And if you ever have any injuries, the beauty and the luxury is that you have Quinyon Mitchell, who's gotten now reps and training and everything else within the slot and in the outside. But you're starting to see now, okay, so Cooper DeJean comes back. We didn't see very many. We saw very few reps that Q was getting on the outside. First practice back for him to actually get in enough team drills, and you're moving Q to the outside some, and then you insert Cooper DeJean to the nickel. So started out second team reps, and then eventually ended up getting some first team. So there was reports from a couple different reporters. I believe Jeff Kerr and E.J. Jenkins as well. So I said Cooper DeJean's been working with the second team exclusively as the slot cornerback, but then he got some reps against the starting offense as Fangio mixed up personnel along with Q and Kelee Ringo for the first team defense. Again, it's just exciting to have that, honestly. Glittery Bobcats, appreciate that. Said, all I can say is thank you so much for this channel. As an Eagles fan from Australia, you don't get any information unless you have Twitter. This channel fills that void. Well, I do appreciate that. That means a lot. As much as possible, trying to keep everybody up to date. Anyway, okay, so moving on with the rest of the practice and how that unfolded, if I can get this thing to cooperate. So ESP, very physical practice today. Nearly a fight in one-on-ones between the O-line and D-line. Nakobe with a hard hit on Shipley after a catch. I don't mind that. We want the players to be healthy. We want them to make it to the regular season, nothing major. But we talk about even last year, and you didn't have that physicality, right? Like we did not have the identity, certainly within the Niners game. I mean, that one comes to mind immediately, where you're in the warm-up lines and JB's getting pushed around and nobody's fighting back. There's just nothing. So for sure, go out there, hit somebody. I love it. I would love to know who that fight was between, or if it was specific. I don't know if that was Mekhi Becton, who stonewalled Jalen Carter 3 straight reps, but still, you got physicality on the defense. And then, yes, I mentioned the defense winning the day early. Offense hasn't been great for the plays where the defense blitzed. Tanner McKee with a really good play versus pressure, got rid of the ball quick and completed a pass along the sideline. And then also Jalyx Hunt. Jeff Kerr saying Jalyx Hunt would have had a sack on Kenny Pickett, who needed to adjust and throw the ball away in 11-on-11s. Jalyx Hunt has had a good practice so far within that. I mean, how impressive has Jalyx Hunt been? Right? Like I think the expectation, the anticipation for Q was understandable. Same thing for Cooper DeJean. Noah, you're asking, what did you miss? Just updating on today's practice. Eagles practice today at the NovaCare Complex. Cooper DeJean is back, officially listed as limited, but he got in for all intents and purposes. He got in just about the same amount of reps that you would see based on reports, at least from what I could find. He's getting second team reps in the slot. He even got some first team reps in the slot, moved a little bit outside, but mostly within the slot, which bumped Q to the outside. So fantastic news. Also, Parris Campbell got in some reps. He's back in a limited fashion with the groin, and then some other injuries that I was mentioning. But yeah, you've got the rookies making plays. But like I say, I think that for me, Jalyx Hunt is one of those that it was not as expected, because whenever we drafted it, I'm like, okay, cool, this guy's got a lot of potential, but it feels like a long-term play, someone that you're not going to get out on the field immediately. And yet, so far, from what we've seen, And from what we heard, I mean, that's a guy that continues to make plays out there, continues to look like not a rookie or feel like it. The moment's not too big for him. Yeah. I'll be curious, honestly, to see how many reps. Because I will say, as of right now, whenever I was first getting questions or we were having conversations on the live streams, I kind of felt like or assumed that Jalyx Hunt would be a special teams player, and that's about it. And as of right now, I would revise that statement because I actually feel like he's going to get decent snaps. Nothing crazy, but 10 snaps a game on the defense, maybe 15. I think that's actually not crazy, which is maybe surprising. So Jalyx Hunt, really solid day. Later, in fact, he broke up a pass in coverage. Kenny Pickett passed to CJ Uzomah. Take that for how you will. I don't know if that's as big of a win for him, considering what we know about the group, or the QB, I should say. But still broke up a pass. And then, let's see, I think it was, I'm trying to find the individual, try to attribute as much as I can. Because shout out to the beat writers. We will say that, right? Like, they're at least giving us the info, because I'm not at camp, and so we got to go off of that. I think it was, Martin Frank still. So not only in coverage, break up the pass from CJ Uzomah, but looking very fluid. Really, probably the most fluidity between or out of all the edge rushers. Not the, not again the most surprising or crazy to hear that, because of him being, he was a safety and then transitioned over. But I think that's really what tells you so much about what Fangio loved about him. He's got that versatility, and he can play in multiple spots. You're confident in him guarding guys on the outside, whether it's a tight end, whether it's dropping back, whether it's a running back, and he's proven that. So, understandable why Fangio ended up going and getting him so high. The reports of Fangio loving him so much in the draft, Ohana Means family saying Jalyx will be a star. I wouldn't doubt him. Certainly wouldn't doubt him at this point. Jalyx continues to make plays, whether it's in practice or whether it's in games. So you got to love that. And the IQ that he has. He's apparently showing quite a bit of understanding, picking it up very quickly. Eagle One, what's up? From Ohio, let's run this. Just hopping on here, a little quick recap for everybody if they did not catch practice. Also, Devin White with back-to-back pressures on a blitz. Talked about the defense blitzing quite a bit. And then there's also Cooper DeJean within kind of the recap, but with his first true practice, Brooks Cabina was saying, reveals how interesting it'll be for Vic Fangio to identify his best secondary. Quinyon Mitchell played on the outside corner, and like I mentioned, with the ones, and not just in the base. There was a cycle with DeJean at nickel. DeJean has also played outside and inside with the twos. So just recapping on that side. GG says, good sign that the defense won the day. It is, because how many times have we said that? Maybe once, other than today. Perhaps once. It has not been very many times, that's for sure. So we'll take it. Is anybody concerned from that standpoint on the defense? I'll take a few questions here, if there are any. I'll take maybe a couple. Just recapping the day though. Didn't have time, like I was mentioning, for a full-on practice recap. So just getting on here, updating everybody what's going on, and then we'll jump off. There's also, as far as, let's see, I think there's a couple others that I was going to touch on here. Let's see. Within the wide receiver 3, as I mentioned, 16 rated, yeah. Jalyx Hunt and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. combo, man. Yeah, Jeremiah Trotter didn't have the best day, we'll be honest, though, for the preseason game. Missed a few tackles, looked a little bit more like a rookie. If you compare the Ravens game versus the Patriots, But again, everybody's had their moments. Zack Baun played better. Nakobe Dean played much better on that side. Texan Eagle, Josh, where do you think we should start DeJean? That is a good question. I think that we should go with Hold on, I'm putting this one up here too. I think, honestly, he should probably start in the slot, but it's a difficult. I mean, it's a great problem to have. It gets even better and worse in a way with Cooper DeJean back, because I didn't expect for Q to be in the slot, but you're like, okay, you got Slay, you got Isaiah Rodgers, presumably as you're starting outside corners, and then in the slot, you would assume that it was going to be Coop, except now it's probably Q as the front runner because he's been getting those reps. But ultimately, this team, long term, this team's going to be the best when Q is the outside. So it's a luxury to have. I don't know if Slay keeps it up, if he starts showing some regression, or if you need to insert him for a Q for Zay, if you need to insert him for Kelee Ringo, if he gets reps, naturally, if you put more corners or more secondary on the field. But I would say for now, slot. That's where I'm leaning. But anyway, within the wide receiver 3 also, I'll just touch on that quickly because we've had some rumors and comments also on the last video. Kramer, what's up? Seeing you there. The wide receiver 3 is very interesting, right? Because we have the injury that I was talking about within Johnny Wilson. You had also John Ross, who got banged up. Official injury report. Right there. Long list, laundry list of injuries. Positivities, positives. I don't know if positivities is really a word, but Tracy Ann here in the offense struggled so much against the blitz. Worries me. Other teams are going to just blitz Jalen relentlessly until he proves he can handle it. That's fair, but I think that we'll be okay. I do understand the concern. I think that we will be all right. It's just giving different looks. There's going to be some adjustments. Maybe it's not like from day one he's just torching them, right? Like that's understandable. But I think that he'll be fine. Kellen Moore, in his history, usually has very good blitz beaters, has answers against the blitz. But it comes back to some of it. I'm not going to, yes, we've got A.J. Brown, we got Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley. You could make the case that it doesn't matter who the wide receiver 3 is, that the Eagles will still be fine, right? Like, it doesn't need to be, hey, we're not going to beat the blitz unless we have wide receiver 3, as Greg says, grab Renfro. That is another name that's been thrown out there. Sure. I think personally, at the top of my list is probably an Adam Thielen, just because of the versatility. You could play him in the slot, you could play him on the outside. Not that Renfro can't, but I think just recency and what he's done, if you were to have something happen, we hope that no injuries, but if AJ goes down, if Smitty goes down, you have the versatility, you have the flexibility, he can move out there, you trust him as a veteran presence, good locker room guy, going to be strong work ethic. That's what I would lean towards. I don't know necessarily. I mean, does it take like a 5th round pick? You're talking about a 6th round pick, a 6 with a conditional 5th, depending on numbers. I don't know. And realistically, Carolina is probably trying to keep, weapons around Bryce Young. But if they're enticed enough to say, well, okay, hey, we can get a draft pick back, a building team, probably not there yet. But Ryan also voted for Thielen. There you go. Darius Slayton was another name that I mentioned on the last video. That is a possibility. If you're talking about another Giants player, because we seem to get quite a bit of those. But trade for him. Jahan Dotson was someone, I can't remember who initially threw that out there, but that may be another guy that you look at from the wide receiver number. And Houston, that's the constant theme, right? I'm awake for you. Yes. How about Mekhi from Houston? Houston is the one guarantee. If anytime you talk about wide receivers, if you talk about trades, if you talk about whatever within that wide receiver standpoint, they're going to be the ones that naturally come up every single time. Because of John Mechie or Robert Woods could even get cut. You trade for someone because of the plethora that they have. There's really too much depth. And maybe, who knows, maybe they need or want a corner. No given if Eli Ricks makes the roster, Josh Jobe, James Radberry we didn't really talk about. Apparently he had a decent practice today. Take that for how you will. But I will say, as of right now, as of Saturday, August 17th, the Eagles wide receiver 3, their starting wide receiver 3, I don't really feel like is on the roster. I think that you could be okay. And if you go with this team, I mean, hear me out. Again, I'm not saying that the wide receiver 3 is like, oh my gosh, we're going to struggle. This offense is going to not handle the blitz. This offense is going to, be handicapped. There's plenty of weapons already. But if you're looking at trying to maximize and you talk about this team, I think that Howie goes out and tries to find one more receiver. But still, I do understand. I hear you out as far as, but what about safety? What about linebacker? Yes, you could go out and try to get some depth there. That's not out of the question. But the fact that you got Caden Stearns, I think they're holding out hope. They're going to wait and see how he does. You naturally see there in the injury report, Caden Stearns dealing with a knee. As Vic Fangio said, he's probably not going to practice or even potentially play for maybe another week. Could even be 2 weeks because of that patella tendon injury, and there's a reason that he did not pass his physical when the Panthers claimed him off the waivers. But we'll see. That is another interesting one. Keeping an eye out. It would surprise me, actually. I kind of think that you might see a move here in the next week or so. Remember, cut down day is the 27th, so we got 10 days until cut down day. There's still plenty of time, but it's going to start ramping up as we get closer there. And it'll be interesting because you're going to start to, we're already taking shape, seeing which players are a lock, which ones are kind of on the bubble, which ones are very much almost a given to get cut and not make the roster. But you still have 10 days. So teams start to shift alignments, make their plans known. You get some info there. Anyway, that's where this thing is at right now. And then next up, we'll just recap real quick. For those just joining, you can obviously rewatch it, watch it back. This is going to kind of live and breathe out there for a little while, I suppose, but just catching everybody up. Didn't have time for the full video. But upcoming for the preseason game, which is on Saturday, I will not be there for the stream, unfortunately. I've got some, actually had a competition, CrossFit competition I'll be at. So unfortunately will not be there. We'll probably be like a day late getting the recap up, but it will happen. Just won't be able to hang out the one game, unfortunately, for that one. But there will still be videos and live streams and everything else beforehand, just not going to be at that game or during that game with the stream. But I'm looking forward to see some of the other positional battles that we're still kind of on the fence about. Like linebacker is the closest that it has been. Let's be honest. Like Zack Baun played much better. He made some run stops. But Nakobe Dean, he helped himself. He played better. I've not been the biggest supporter. You guys know that, but he played better. He's making a name for himself. He's showing that emphasis. If you do talk about, I don't know, in terms of like intensity, maybe is the right word, or aggressiveness or physicality, something along those lines. So far from what I've seen, or at least from what I saw in the last preseason game, Nakobe Dean was the guy. You match up against the linebackers, Nakobe Dean has been that one. 16 rated. I appreciate the good luck. Thank you. 16 rated also. We got too many players that are, in my opinion, injury prone. We do have quite a bit, but I feel like that's where Howie leans towards of, the ultimate risk reward. If they can stay healthy. But that is a big question as far as the safety spot. I agree with you, GG. We should not have gotten rid of TJ Edwards. But yes, within the preseason game, I don't know if you'll see a fair shake. Does Kenny Pickett have any chance at all to be leapfrogged by Tanner McKee? Probably not. He's going to be guaranteed. But yeah, it'll be exciting. See what the potentials. Most all of the positions are locked in. I think if we're being honest, most of those stay. But still more to come. So anyway, let me know what you think about this. I'm going to have more details and links in the description as well as the comment section. So again, for those watching it back. Also, if you're wanting to get in on the Underdog Fantasy League, I've got that posted. Pinned comment now. If you're watching this on delay, it's in the comment section. So click on the link, join my league, $25 entry, and then that draft will take place once it fills up. So filling up pretty quickly, but get in on that. And as far as practice schedule, the Eagles are back tomorrow, so Sunday practice. They also practice Monday. Then there's a Tuesday walkthrough that's closed. Wednesday back at practice. Thursday back at practice. And then Friday is either an off day or walkthrough. So, and then Saturday is the game. So lots of stuff. You got to love, let's just pause for a second and like appreciate the fact that we're practicing so much. Would not have seen that in the past, right? Like Thomas and I were texting earlier and he's like, man, they practice again. I was like, yeah, it's crazy. The number of practices and especially the number of back-to-back practices. It's like, oh, let's practice 2 in a row or 3 in a row and take a day break and then 2 more in a row, 3 more in a row. They're being serious. And not only is Sirianni taking that into consideration, but I think it's a lot of a push from Vic Fangio. So I think it's a positive. I think most people do. I've seen a few comments that are like, man, we're going to get these guys injured, which, yes, I mean, I'll throw it back up there one more time. We've got a laundry list of an injury report that comes with the territory. But, it's hard to say. I could see the argument on both sides. I would probably, after recency bias and seeing last season, I would probably take this stance still over what we saw last year. Practice a little bit more, get in the reps, get in the work. You have new coordinators. You don't need the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. It does feel like, Sirianni is listening to both Fangio and Kellen Moore. And it also seems like, because he didn't play the starters, that maybe, he looked at that and said, hey, Kellen, what do you want to do? Kellen's like, yeah, I'm good. We don't need to get these guys out there. But Fangio's like, I don't. We're getting the defense out there. They're going to play. So you'll probably see it within the third. Ohaneme's family, it's a good point. Nick took Javon Hargrave's comments to heart. He certainly did. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you here. Like I said, hopping on, recapping today's practice, everything that went on. Best news so far, like I shared, was Cooper DeJean. He's back. The rookie. It feels like we have all this depth already, and then you insert him. I'd kind of slightly forgotten. I don't know if everybody else has felt that way, but it's like you talk about the secondary, you talk about the squad, and all the guys competing for reps, and I was like, oh yeah, Coop is still working his way back. Well, now he's here. He's getting second team reps in the slot, first day back off of limited action, so I think that tells you quite a bit of where they see or hope to see him play. And I don't know, does that move Q to the outside? Is he a potential candidate to take over there? Or is this kind of a rotation secondary? It would be a little bit strange to see that, but Saturday's going to tell a lot. The preseason game there, you're going to have guys that don't play, certain ones, and then you're going to have opportunities. I would expect that Q gets quite a bit, or maybe not quite a bit, but maybe like one or two series, but probably both of those being on the outside, because we've seen, quite a bit in the slot, and then you insert Coop as the nickel on defense. So something to keep an eye on. But as always, appreciate you guys. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. 75,000 subs. Once we get there, we're giving away the Isaiah Rodgers signed white helmet to one lucky subscriber. So you could be one, you could be an OG at one, or you could be 75,000, anywhere in between. But one person's going to win that. Y'all know I appreciate all the support. Y'all are the best. Have an awesome weekend. Back with more videos very soon, and we'll keep you posted. Until next time, y'all know what it is. Go Birds.